What's going on, everybody? I like that one. What's going on, everybody? Good to see you all here. It's your old pal, Sean Pierce Johnson. Welcome back to SPJ Live. Starting to become erratic with the schedule for reasons. There are good reasons. But hey, we're back. Hope you guys have had, hope all of you, because there's not just guys that watch this, there are girls that watch this too. Hope you all have had a great week. You're doing well and staying cool. It's summertime here in the States, and of course, it's Southern California, so it's very, very, very hot today. I have the air conditioning blasting right now. You can actually, if I'm really quiet and turn off the distortion, you can probably hear the ceiling fan going all kinds of willy-nilly right now. I've got some iced coffee in front of me. I got a tall glass of ice water. Hopefully it's going to keep me cool. Thankfully, these new light panels that I got for videos and for streams, thankfully they don't get too hot and they don't give off as much heat as the other light boxes that I have. So I'm feeling pretty good about those, if I do say so myself. So hopefully I'm not going to be sweating today. But it's good to see so many familiar faces. Of course, Bent Tom in the house. First and foremost, Bent Tom in the house. How you doing, buddy? I'm doing pretty good. It's been a very busy time, which is why there's been so few streams lately, between doing video work, doing other video projects that I still can't really share yet, but then getting asked to do other video projects that I won't be able to share immediately. And then just also helping out at church. We've just got this really awesome new property in Lake Forest. It actually used to be a place where Blizzard used to have an HQ. So it's this giant building, really, really nice, very modern. And I've been kind of consulting and helping out with the AV setup and whatnot. Actually, I was just over at the San Juan Capistrano building today, helping the crew set up the stage for the San Juan Capistrano campus, because they're going to hold on to that property and have a Sunday service in San Juan Capistrano as well as at the new building. And I will be playing this weekend actually at San Juan Capistrano. Sadly, that will not be broadcast. The main campus services will be streamed online. But please throw them some support if that's up your alley. I would really appreciate it. That group of people has done a lot for me and the wife to help keep our sanity, and just some really good people. It's a lot of fun. I'm actually getting into practicing right now. I'm excited that I'm actually going to get an opportunity to use the Noventa Strat actually live, and as you can see, it's capoed. I have it tuned to open C right now, and then it's capoed at the second fret, so it's basically open D. And you're probably thinking, like, why don't you just tune it to open D without the capo? And it's just because that particular open C tuning I really, really like for easy slide licks. So I need the open string to be D, thus how it's going. But yeah, we're busy. We're doing a lot of cool stuff, and I'm hoping that we can, you know, really get things going here. DJ 7-string guitar, how you doing, buddy? Yeah, I see that you're joining us, which I heard why you're joining us. Hopefully everything with that is fine and nobody's gonna get sick. Ben Coombs in the house, how you doing? My favorite knucklehead. The only thing iconic about this stream is the calendar, and it is correctly July. So nobody can give me crap about that. Dwight Bailey's in the house. How you doing, Dwight? Good to see you. It's been a while. Glad to have you here. Hey, look, Johnny Bean joining in. How you doing, Johnny? Good to see you. Santa Cruz in the house, representing the Bay-ish area. Good to have you here, buddy. Thank you so much for joining in. And Janice Lala is also here. How you doing, Janice? Great to have you here. Ah, good. You'll find out tomorrow. Well, hopefully everything, you know, goes all right. Second big storm right now. Are you in hurricane area, Janice? I don't really know. But yeah, good to have a lot of familiar faces here. It means a lot. Let's see. Not only do I get to bust out the Noventa for the set on Sunday, I also am gonna have a CXM 1978 on the floor. Ah, Connecticut. Okay. Oh, right. That's right, Janice. You are down the street from... I remember you bringing that up one time. Strat Cat Blues. Hey from Texas, Sean. Hey from California. Right back at you, Strat Cat Blues. Good to have you here. Thank you so much for joining in. But I really love this particular... I'm going to use two sounds from the CXM that I really, really like. If I take off all the reverb, because I've got 1, 2 reverb pedals on the board, and then CXM will make 3 reverb pedals, because why not? If I take off all the verb... That's a tube screamer into the Walrus ACS-1 set on like a Marshall kind of sound. And then if I add on the Keeley Hydra, I have that on like a little like medium dark plate reverb. The idea with that is just to give a little ambiance. It's not to really take over and do special effects. It's just to add a little bit of sense of space. And then if I add on the CXM, this is another plate, still not quite heavy, but it's a little brighter. And it just kind of helps things bloom a little bit, I found. Put on something heavier. So that's basically what that's going to be for. You know, just fleshing out the reverb a little bit, which you need for that kind of music. And then the other one, something a lot more, definitely a lot more typically ambient for the style. It's that lo-fi, it's the hall reverb, it's a ton of bass on it, so I get this nice pad going underneath. But it doesn't step on what I'm playing. And the reason that there's a lot of bass is because I'm now using a Vox sound from the ACS-1, which is much more like chimey mid-range kind of thing. That's okay, DJ. I'm gonna give you this one. That's good. Any more plate, it'll be mistaken for a dining set. That's good. I'll give you that one. It's a little dad joke-ish, but I'll give you that one. That was good. But then I'm using the lo-fi mode on this, so it gets a little bit more granular and it gets a little bit more glitchy with the decay. Add on just a little bit more modulation and just kind of fleshes things out, as it were. So yeah, I'm stoked that I get to use some new gear. Between the Noventa Strat, the CXM 1978, and all that good jargon, I'm pretty excited. I always like when I have the chance to... I always like the chance to use new gear in a live context, especially with 2020 being what it was. We didn't really get those opportunities to actually test out stuff in a live context. We had to make do with everything in the studio. And now that I have more chances to test out these pedals in the environments that they're meant to be used in, I'm pretty excited about that. So we got 12 people watching. Yes, I've turned into Clark Kent now. So, you know, as is wont to happen, for some reason, I start out Bruce Wayne, I become Clark Kent on these live streams, and that's fine with me. It doesn't bother me one bit. So, the title of tonight's stream, So Iconic. Those of you WWE fans will know what I'm talking about. What can we say? Chicago Music Exchange basically messed up and kind of broke the guitar internet a couple days ago when they listed the new 5150 Iconic series for pre-order, which they apparently weren't supposed to do because it was very quickly taken down. So quick I couldn't actually go to the link and grab photos of it. And then this morning, EVH officially sent out an email blast saying, hey, 5150 Iconic series now up for pre-order. My personal take on that is that because of the way that it was launched, maybe they had to call an audible on this one, and they couldn't get as much marketing material together as they wanted, because, and we'll talk about it, and we'll go to the web section of the EVH website, and we'll go over the specs, and we'll talk about what exactly is going on, and just kind of get a feel for what we're expecting. And you'll see the lack of, you know, the lack of anything other than nice photos kind of suggests that maybe they had to go into a little bit of damage control. Just the fact that somebody leaked it completely by mistake. I'm convinced of that. Nobody planned for that to happen. And so knowing like, well, it's already out there, we might as well make it public. And I actually am kind of excited about this amp because I think I've already heard this amp before. I have a little video that I want to show you guys that some of you may have forgotten about. So if at this point right now you guys want to share this link, invite some more people to watch this, I have a video clip that I want to show you guys from several years ago where I got to meet James Brown at the NAMM show, and he had an amp with him there that I have a sneaking suspicion is the sort of starting point of what the 5150 Iconic series is going to be. So after we take a look at what EVH says about the amplifiers on their website, after I take some opinions from you guys and see what you guys think about it, and also just kind of, you know, daydream a little bit about possibly getting one, I will throw that video up and we'll take a listen to it and kind of see whether or not you guys feel the same way that I do, and that this amp that James Brown had several years ago is actually basically an early stage idea of what would eventually become the 5150 Iconic series. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and go to the website. Let's make the website bigger than me, because you guys don't really need to see me at this present moment. So I'm going to go ahead and just start browsing. And I'll go back a little bit to there. So this is the page of the website that introduces the 5150 Iconic series. And as we can see, it comes in two colors. It's going to be, as it have at almost every 5150, black and ivory. We have the 5150 Iconic Series 80-watt head, the 5150 Iconic Series 4x12 cab, and the 5150 Iconic Series 40-watt 112 combo. Let's go ahead and check out the head first. So this is just my personal opinion. If I were to buy this, I would most likely get it in black because it's the closest to the original 5150. But I can't deny that this 5150 in ivory, just it's sharp as hell. Like it looks so good. But I'm a little this isn't anything against Fender. It's nothing against EVH. But for some reason, both of these photos just are like slightly out of focus. Like I don't know what their focus point for their photographer is on this particular amplifier, but the control set of EQs on the panel in this particular photo are just a little blurry compared to the ivory. The ivory, the controls, you can read them just a little bit more clearly. That's just a small thing, which is a small thing that indicates to me that possibly they had to get this ready kind of quickly because of the accidental leak a few days ago. So let's head down to the overview. The Iconic series satisfies the need of gigging and recording guitarists craving that pure and powerful EVH tube tone, but at a more affordable price. As we can see right here, this is going to street for $899.99, $900 US. So a 5150, an EVH 5150 for $900 is pretty darn cool. I know there are going to be a lot of people that will gravitate towards that. They want something as powerful as a 5150, but they don't want to spend a whole lot of money. That does indicate a few things about what we can expect from this amplifier, i.e. where it's made, i.e. what it's made of. But let's just keep going here. Designed by renowned amp engineer James Brown. So there you go. This is the first official product that James Brown has been a part of. The original designer of the 5150 with PV. The 5150 Iconic Series 80-watt head is powered by 4 6L6 power tubes and voiced with 2 JJ ECC 83S preamp tubes, basically 12 AX7s. Head features 2 channels with an extra voicing on each for even more versatility. Green channel boasts an overdrive button to run from lush clean tones to increased gain, while the red channel's burn button adds fiery crunch that's ideal for blistering leads. Each channel houses its own gain and volume controls, allowing for level matching and switching between clean and high gain. Channel 2's noise gate quick attack suppresses any hiss while ensuring all staccato riffing is articulate and crisp, not choked and choppy. This is something that I am really excited about. The fact that the green channel, let's just call it channel 2. I am, for one, excited about the fact that channel 2 actually has a noise gate built in. When I showed this to my wife this morning, because we were just laughing about it, I mentioned, hey, this thing has a built-in noise gate. Her words were, oh, thank God, that last one you had was so noisy. And look, 5150s are very powerful amplifiers. I've played, let's see, 5152. I've never played an original block letter 5150. I've played another iteration of the 5150. And then I've played every 5153 since the first revisions came out, and I've even played like the 50-watt versions and whatnot, and all of them, like, you get that much gain going, it's just going to be noisy. There's no way around it. So to have a built-in noise gate is something that I find to be incredibly handy. We got a 10 dB foot switchable volume boost. Control panel includes shared EQ, low, middle, high, global resonance and presence knobs, and a global reverb. Wow, there's a built-in reverb on this, which is actually pretty cool. None of the 5150s that I remember have ever had reverb built into it. I could be wrong. I'm sure somebody will let me know in the comments below. Other features include a 2-button foot switch, effects loop, dual parallel speaker outpost, quarter power switch. Quarter power switch. So it won't be probably 40-80. It'll be like 40-20. You know, whatever. Reduced wattage, crank. Speaker emulated DI XLR out, which that's pretty awesome. With power amp mute for accurate all tube EVH tone for recording direct or using through any PA system. Now this is something that I find very interesting, is the power amp mute button. Most everything that I know of where you are, going direct, like with my rocker verb, I have to plug it into a load box in order to utilize it to go direct, whether that's with a speaker emulation or whether that is just the raw line out tone that I can get out of it. So my one concern at the moment is, will just the power amp mute be enough to where you could just literally roll up to the gig with the head and the power amp mute button on, and then just feed an XLR out of that balanced DI? Or are you going to need to always bring along the cab with you in order for the speaker to see a load? It just depends, and we'll have to wait and see. And then let's see, sophisticated and distinctive style, blah blah blah. Head finished out vintage chicken head style knobs, black logos, jewel L. All right, features: searing sound and growling gain. Boring. We already know it does that. Take command. I think we already read all this. Tube power. Okay, let's talk about the tube power and the fact that there's 2 preamp tubes and 4 power tubes. There's a picture that more easily allows us to see. There we go. That's the back, and you can see the quartet of power tubes, 6L6 power tubes. There's our emulated speaker output, a ground lift for it, power amp mute. We got a pre-out, so I'm guessing that's out of the preamp. So I guess that's your line out. Then we have our effects loop, foot switch input. So glad to see that the foot switch is a 1/4-inch foot switch jack as opposed to some sort of proprietary thing, because that's been the case with other EVH amps, and it's just annoying. And then our 2 speaker outputs. Let's see if we can get a better shot. Okay, so you can see 2 preamp tubes, and it looks like that's just the edge of the transformer. That's another transformer. So I wanted to talk a little bit about this because I did spend a little bit of time listening to some other folks' takes on the fact that this amp only has 2 preamp tubes. Now, in my experience working around amp designers, full disclosure here, anybody who's watching right now knows I'm not an amp designer. This is for those watching in the future. I'm just covering my ass at this point right now. But I'm not an amp designer. I don't claim to know that this will work. However, what I have known about talking to other amp designers And I especially know this around the 2 Carvin pedal preamps that came out and were being worked on while I worked at the company. The Steve Vai Legacy drive only has 2 preamp tubes inside of it. And the Steve Vai Legacy amplifiers had, I believe, 4 preamp tubes in the amplifiers, not the pedal preamps. I'm talking about the pedal preamps. Those had 2. So what I was told by the guy who engineered and designed both the Legacy and the Legacy drive is what you're able to do with a tube is you're able to essentially split it in half, and you can use one side of the tube as a gain stage, and then you can use another side of the tube as the gain stage. I'm just relaying information that was relayed to me. That's what I was told, and that's why at the end of the day you are able to have the full tone of the Legacy out of a pedal with only 2 preamp tubes as opposed to 4. You can essentially split it down the middle and have each half of the tube running as a gain stage. That's all I can say. I can only relay information that was relayed to me many, many years ago. Or not many years ago. It was only a few years ago. Time really flies, and it's kind of nuts. All right, so I don't think that there's going to be anything wrong with that, especially considering the fact that it's James Brown, the guy that made the original 5150. Because it's him, I have this feeling like they already know what they're going for. And so they brought in the OG to help them find what they're going for. And if Fluff is to be believed, because I did watch his stream earlier today, he has it on good authority that Ed heard prototypes of the Iconic series. And it must have made it far enough into the prototype stage that there was some approval of it. Now that Ed is gone, we have Matt Bruck, we have Wolfgang making the call for EVH gear, and I'm almost certain that, Wolfgang is not probably going to be thinking exactly like his dad was thinking. And look, I see some of the comments going, and I'll address you guys in a moment, and we'll talk about it. But I really just have a feeling like this. We need to give them the benefit of the doubt. This is the first time that, they're releasing a product without Ed. But I don't think that it's going to be bad. Let's see if there's any other things that we should talk about here. We have reverb, our resonance, our presence. There's our full and quarter power switch, standby, power, and whatnot. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Let's go ahead now and look at the cabinets, which I think are probably going to be the biggest deal breaker for me. Can we please just go back to the cabinets? Jeez. All right. Well, I guess I'll just have to go it like this. And unfortunately, it doesn't want me to go. I kind of like the fact that they have this direct link to it, and it's almost impossible to find it. There we go. All right, cab time. So this is definitely where it's a $500 cab. According to them, it's going to have 4 EVH speakers in it, but it is going to be constructed with MDF, particle board, which with a plywood baffling. So that's how you know that the EVH cabs for this series are going to be so cheap. They're made out of, and I'm sorry to say, they're made out of an inferior material. I can speak to that from experience on many accounts, because so much of the stuff in my home has MDF construction, baseboards, door casings that swelled up, then shriveled up, and were destroyed in my house flood several years ago. And it's not fun to have to deal with it. So, you know, not exactly my favorite thing in the world. But I do like those EVH speakers, so we'll just have to see if they're the same EVH Celestions, or, yeah, custom designed EVH 12-inch Celestion speakers voiced specifically for this preamp circuit. So it's not the signature EVH speaker that we've seen before. I get, it sounds like it's going to be a different one. And then we have the combo. Let's see. I just want to see. We already know what it's going to do. I want a shot of the rear. Not really like that, but it gives us a good idea. It looks like the combo has almost every single feature and control as the head, which is kind of surprising. A lot of the times that I notice stuff like this, amp companies are basically just, when they make a combo, it's like they take the head, they take away 3 or 4 features or controls, and then put it into a cabinet and call it a day. This is pretty close to the control set of the head. So that's kind of nice. We have the emulated out, ground lift, mute, effects loop, pre-out, foot switch. We have an extra speaker output, and it looks like all the controls, gain 1, 2, noise gate, EQ. Yeah, I mean, it looks like it's all there. So that's kind of cool. I'm actually pretty surprised by that. I'm not a huge combo amp fan. It's a 112 combo, so I probably wouldn't be getting this. But it's kind of hard to argue with a $900 5150. And it looks real sharp in that ivory. So let me, now that we've gone over everything, I'm going to go back to some of your comments, see if I can, you know, address anything. Yes, Ben, pain to keep clean. That would be one that I just literally just keep in the amp rack in the studio, never leaves. I wonder why they chose to make these amps 80 and 40 watts. It's a good question. I don't know anything about amp design, but I know that the difference in volume between 180 is like, or 150 is not really all that much in terms of volume. In terms of headroom, obviously, you're going to, and power, there's going to be twice as much. But it doesn't really do anything overall for volume. If I had to guess, it just happens that whatever this circuit and this amplifier is, 80 watts was the sweet spot, if I had to guess. And I do agree the built-in gate is handy. And we will have to see how it works, obviously. So now we get to this point. Ben saying, I'm still wondering how they're selling them this cheap. So my guess is that they're doing basically what almost every other amp company right now is doing. They're going to be building them offshore. They're not going to be building them in the US. And that has been a bone of contention for a lot of folks that I've seen over the course of the last couple days, because that's their theory, is that it's being built in China. But PV has been building the 6505s in China for the last several years. I think even the Invective is currently built in China as well. I know the smaller format heads are built in China. So, you know, that's one way to keep it cheap. Utilizing MDF rather than particle board to save on materials is another thing. As we can see, there's only 2 preamp tubes, so they're not having to spend a whole lot of money on fresh glass. So that's one thing. And if I had to guess, they probably, with the express purpose, designed it to be produced in a way that they can make them very quickly, and they can basically maximize their profit at a low price. That's the best that I can think. Offshore production designed to be easily manufactured, low material costs, all that good stuff. So there's that. There's that. Bent Tom is asking about solid state preamp. No, well, there are preamp tubes in there. So the only way that you would really probably be able to decide whether or not the tubes actually made a difference would be to take them out and replace them with something else. I don't know. But the tubes have to be serving some kind of purpose. Otherwise, why put them there? You know, especially since this project was in the works while Ed was still alive. Like, he's not gonna BS people. And I don't think that Wolfgang would wanna do that. Personally, he wouldn't want to tarnish his dad's legacy. So let's see. Any more? Interesting. More likely China, and I wouldn't be at all surprised if the same manufacturer that makes the Bugera amps. Do Bugeras still exist? They fell off my radar so quickly. Once you find out that the amps basically catch fire, you know, you go away from it. Bent saying, I think they might be using some FETs in place of tubes to cut costs. No, need 127 for phase inverter. Or maybe there's another way to do a phase inverter. You know, James Brown is a legendary amp designer. He knows what he's doing. So maybe there's a way to do a phase inverter without a tube. He figured it. He's doing it here in the circuit, and it got approved. Who's to say? We just don't know. We won't. A lot of this stuff that we're talking about, guys, at this point, we really won't be able to tell because there are no demos of it out right now. There's not even a marketing video from EVH out of it. And another reason that I think that this was a rushed confirmation launch. There's barely any marketing material to suggest to us what this is going to sound like. But maybe with this video that I'm going to show you guys in a bit, we'll get an idea of what it maybe sounds like. Let's see. Bent is going to pass. I thought it was going to be a reissue of the Gen 1 PV5150. I don't know if that's actually legally possible. I think PV might have the IP protection on the 5150 circuit since they still use it in the 6505. But I could be wrong. What do I know? I'm just a guitar player. DJ saying, it says, iconic as those amps are, they were trash for cleans and effects loops. Glenn Fricker has mentioned it countless times. Having heard my cousin's original 5150, I can agree that the clean tones on the OG 5150s are absolute hot garbage. Not good at all, not warm. It was a distortion amplifier. Why they even entertained the possibility of it being a 2-channel amplifier is beyond me. You know, maybe that was just something Ed wanted. He wanted to have a clean tone since he did have a clean tone on the Soldanos that he got custom built for him back in the day. So it's possible that he just wanted a clean tone and they just didn't do it right. Whoa. Hot take here. This is EVH's version of Marshall MG crap line. I don't know, man. That's a pretty low bar to set right there. I don't think I would 100% agree with that just because I've played so many of those MG amplifiers and they were all crap. So we'll see. We shall see. Wonder how well they'll hold up to gigging. Good question. Hopefully we'll find out. I guess it's an EVH 5150 pedal preamp with a tube power amp. Maybe it is. I mean, the pedal at the end of the day is the 5150 preamp with FETs, if I remember correctly. Music Man. Ah, yes, the Music Mans. They did have the solid 2 power amp. Do you mean that they had a tube preamp or power? Was it a solid state preamp and a tube power amp, or vice versa? Let's see. Let's see. Johnny Bean says, I have an OG 5150, have used since 1995. The clean was terrible. Again, there you go. Clean channel on the OG 5150 was only good for crunch, which is exactly what my cousin said about it. They redid the clean on the 5150 combo. Ed used those live for clean. Well, there you go. Improvement. Bugera got way better after they launched Infinium. Granted, they haven't made any new cloned amps in recent whereas a Boogie Mark clone they demoed years back. Very, very interesting. So yeah, what am I going to say about this? Because everybody's talking about it, so Sean might as well get his 2 cents in. And then we'll watch this video. I'm cautiously optimistic about it. The fact that I could probably borrow one of these from Fender and check it out is pretty attractive. Also, I'm quite interested in just seeing how it is. I like trying out gear, and I don't really judge gear until I can actually get it under my hands and actually play it. For years, people railed on the 5150s for being this like one-trick pony amplifier, and I just wasn't gonna go on that bandwagon until I got the chance to play it. And once I got a chance to play it, I'm like, yeah, this kind of sounds like every other modern metal band out there. It's a good sound, but it's not the sound that I want. I prefer the newer 5150s to the older 5150s, my personal opinion. So I'm cautiously optimistic about it, because let's face it, if it ends up being good, it's a $900 5150. How many kids can you think of that will look at this $900 amplifier with a head and a cab that's under $1,500? You have 2 channels, modern style amplifier. Like, I can see kids like wanting to save up their money for this amplifier and possibly getting a great amplifier to start them out. I'm sure a lot of people will gravitate towards the combo of the kids, especially. And if it's good, it's good. Like, if we can get low cost gear that's good, I mean, yes, there are certain specifications that we can sit as people that dissect everything to do with tone, that we can say, like, that's an inferior quality component. That's an inferior design choice. That's this, that's that, blah, 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 blah. And at the end of the day, it still sounds good. So is it really that crap? I don't really know. Jeff Israel in the house. How you doing, buddy? Good to see you. He says, I think this is just to complete with the Marshall DSLs, which is fine. Interesting. That's, the DSLs, the current DSLs, I don't, for some reason, like nearly as much as the old JCM 2000 DSLs. I cannot, pardon me. I don't know who that is. Anyway, excited. I'm interested in it. Johnny Bean is interested in the combo, which is cool. I'd be interested to hear the combo too. I will be reaching out to my Fender rep and seeing if he can get me in touch with someone at EVH to give it a try. Maybe I'll make a trip up to the Fender facilities, and we'll have to make something happen and have a good time with it. But I promised you guys something, and we're going to see it right now. So what I'm going to show you guys right now is a video from NAMM in, I believe it was 2017. 2017, 2018. And it's a video of me and James Brown talking about a new amp prototype and a new pedal that he had that year at the NAMM show. And when I saw the pictures of the 5150 Iconic and read down the specs of it, my first thought immediately went to this amplifier, because it was so very similar to the specs that he told me, not in the video, off camera. I only saw 2 tubes. I saw 6L6 power tubes, and he said it was around 80 watts. So I kind of put 2 and 2 together and was wondering to myself, especially after listening back to the audio, like, wow, this is a really like high gain amplifier. It really reminds me of that 5150 vibe. So for the sake of having a good time with it. What's going on, people? Sean Pierce Johnson here. It is day 4 of Winter NAMM 2018. If you can't tell, the 3 of us right here are dying right now. Isn't the classic episode of Twilight Zone is the 4 of us are dying? But anyway, we're here at Amp Tweaker with the legendary Mr. James Brown, not the King of Soul, but the king of amp design. James, thank you for letting me come by and check out the new stuff. And you've got some pretty exciting new things. Why don't you give us a little rundown?
Yeah, we showed up at the NAMM show here with, first of all, a new pedal called Curveball, which is a 3-band EQ with boost and a dual boost system. It's a lot of fun. And then the big news is our new amp prototype that I've been working on so hard to show up at the NAMM with. And my friend Mike Snow from the Generators is going to walk you through these new products, because I can't even talk.
All right. So, as we can see, this was something he had been working on and rushing to get ready. In the ensuing years since, he sold Amp Tweaker. He's now with EVH. And let's fast forward a little bit. And this is right about where the playing comes in. So we can hear that there's definitely a high gain 5150-ish vibe to this amplifier. I'm going to see if I can get in this full screen. Okay. So it's going to be really, yes, Ben, sideburns are glorious. I totally agree. Johnny Bean says, sounds like a 5150. And I'm not going to argue with you, Johnny, because I totally agree with you. It sounds dangerously close to a 5150. So if I can try to get to a spot in the video, there we go. So we see some controls here. Dwight thinks it sounds good. Well, thank you, Bent. I'm taken already. So no hitting. That's funny. Love it. Love it. So I'm looking at these controls and I see, I'm going to go back to full screen in it right here. On the leftmost side of the amplifier, it looks like it's a resonance and presence control. It looks like we have channel 1 and channel 2. So I don't think this one has a shared EQ. But I see some switches underneath there, which, you know, a lot of the Amp Tweaker pedals had these different tone switches that you could then, you know, reshape the amplifier or the pedal, as it were. So yeah, I can't be 100% certain. I just know that when I heard this news about the 5150 Iconic, my mind immediately shot back to this video and thinking while I was working on this video years ago after the NAMM show, how closely the sound of that amp tweaker prototype resembled a 5150. And there's even some more sound clips that we can take a listen to. Mike Jones here. How you doing, buddy? Sounds exactly like what I remember a 5150 combo sounding when I heard one in the 90s at a store. And Johnny Bean agrees with you. So it seems like the consensus amongst myself and you guys watching is that the sound of this prototype is scarily similar to a 5150. Now, this was plugged into, I believe, 2 112 cabs. So imagine that sound now plugged into a 412. And it's probably going to be something fairly close to what we know and love the 5150 to be. Garguts in the house. Sounds like the mid knob doesn't do anything on that amp as well. Oh, yeah, the mids do nothing on the 5150. You just keep them at 2. You just keep the mids at 2. You know, funny story about the 5150s. The first time I ever heard one was my cousin brought his over to my house. And he told me back when he bought his in the 90s that he played phone tag with reps at PV to try to find out what Ed's settings were. And he eventually got Ed's settings, and he hasn't moved the knobs since then. He says every time I've tried to go away from it, it's immediately like, nope, I don't like it. It doesn't sound good. And the mids are at 2 on Ed's settings. That's all I'm going to say. Let's see if we can hear some more from this.
There you go. That's the being. So we're going to start with.
So this is where we get into the pedal. And the pedal is plugged into the amplifier, so you'll be able to hear a little bit of the raw tone with this amplifier. Obviously, this portion of the video is trying to show off this curveball pedal, but you'll still get an idea of the basic sound.
All right, so we're going to start with the amp.
So at that point, we're just trying to get like a really standard kind of crunchy overdrive sound. Ah, nice, Ben. Thank you. Yeah, I love it. I haven't watched that in a while. So now he starts messing around with the pedal, and it gets in the way of the tone, obviously, because we're shifting EQ around and whatnot. So let's go to that point where the amp is okay. I mean, Johnny Bean is pretty much summing up. He's pretty much summing up my thoughts on it. It's got the tone, and you can't get away from it. So, although I would love to have had more audio from this video that I could show you guys, there's actually a section where we go clean. It's probably when we turn on the compressor. Let me see if we can get something. No, it's still dirty. Hey Scott, how you doing, buddy? Pardon my scrubbing.
Your amp, put this in the effects loop, and so that tones, get the volume. You know, you've
Now we're on clean. And seriously, this is why I shot immediately back to this video when the Iconic series was leaked, because it's just, even back then I was thinking to myself, okay, he's trying to do his own 5150 thing. Let's see. Jeff says, I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with a one-trick amp if you really like that sound, but the 5150 has a lot of knobs for an amp that does one thing. I agree with you. It does. Especially the second version, you know, where they really tried to make it a 2-channel amplifier. And then, of course, the Brian May amp only has one knob. One knob and 3 dip switches, basically. But they were great sounding amps. I wish we would have had more time to hear the clean tone, not with the pedal. I mean, I personally feel like there's a lot of good body to that clean tone. It may not be like a perfect clean tone, but it's still pretty good.
Say as a
All right, so that's basically where my mind went, was that amp tweaker prototype all those years ago. So at this point, it was probably 3.5, 4 years ago. And to me, that prototype 3.5, 4 years ago sounds very, very close to what a 5150 being made at the time is supposed to sound like. It's just really interesting now that all these years later, James Brown has sold off Amp Tweaker, and I hate what they're doing with Amp Tweaker these days. Amp Tweaker was so much cooler when it was under James Brown's control. Now they've basically killed off the entire pedal line and are only doing tight metals with super generic graphics, super generic cases. It wasn't a good... It just bothers me to no end. He's now with EVH. They're putting out the Iconic series, and I have a sneaking suspicion that this Amp Tweaker prototype is basically the beginning of the 5150 Iconic. Only time will tell. Hopefully, we'll get a chance to hear one on the channel. If we do, trust me, you will be finding out in more ways than one. Of course, the quickest way you're going to find out is if you are on the Patreon. So if you're interested in becoming a supporter there, there's going to be some changes coming up, but I would love to have you guys be a part and help support the channel for that endeavor. I would really love to get one of these and test it out and make a video for you all. And a lot of that help will come from you guys. Other than that, what else can we say? I thank you all so much for spending some time talking with me about this little amplifier, and also just spending some time with me. You could be doing anything else right now, and you're doing this, and I greatly appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, please do give this live stream a thumbs up. Be sure to invite friends to come and subscribe to the channel. Come and join us for a live stream. Click the subscribe button, ring the notification bell, and all that good stuff. This is going to be one of the final live streams that we're going to be doing. We'll probably have one more in August. I am going to be taking a break from making videos just so that I can clear my head and get some new ideas done. But I'm looking forward to taking a break and coming back rejuvenated. There isn't going to be a video this Saturday. It just didn't work out into the schedule. But coming back next Saturday, we will have videos for you. We still have the Noventa Stratocaster to take a look at. We have the 75th anniversary Strat to take a look at, as well as CXM 1978. And that will sort of effectively be our mid-season finale for videos here on the channel. Please click subscribe, hit the notification bell, please check out the Patreon, help support the channel. And I know I'm looking forward to taking a break, and hopefully you guys will be enjoying the rest of your summer. And until next time, friends, I wish you all great tone, great health, and happy stomping. Cheers, friends. I'll see you in the future.